Hello, everybody. Welcome to my first ever 2024 election prediction. Now, you might be confused about the candidates here. Edp445, known for his YouTube channel, and Reid, known for... Well, getting into this, first off, let's start with the safe states. Oops, I'm sorry. I just spoiled my main prediction, but getting back to the rest of this, get all the safe Republican states out of the way, the Mormon Belt, that won't really like Reid for, well, I'm assuming somewhat obvious reasons. So those are the safe states. I can't really see Ron DeSantis and EDP445, EDP445 and Ron DeSantis flipping California due to the wide margin it's been voting for Democrats for in recent years, despite EDP445 being from California. Nor do I see Reid winning Florida, which I think will go to the EDP445 ticket by a likely margin. Sure, Florida isn't usually too influenced by waves, but Ron DeSantis is governor here. He's popular, at least at the moment. And so I can see this, maybe not safely, but solidly enough going into his column. South Carolina, I think... Actually, let's make that safe. With the rest of the Sun Belt, it may eventually become more competitive, but I see the GOP holding on to it pretty strongly during this election. Alaska, I'm going to make likely. This may be a little controversial, but President Biden did make huge gains for the Democrats in Anchorage. And Lisa Murkowski is a moderate Republican here who is very popular, or at least was very popular, won a writing campaign back in 2010. The state will receive a lot of attention. I think Democrats and even more moderate Republicans here may come out for a Reid ticket. But I don't see it leaving the GOP column anytime soon. The most interesting part, which is the part I was looking forward to, was talking about the Rust Belt. See, Reid is white and works a job that does not require a college degree. I think that will help her here. It'll help her win Michigan and Pennsylvania by lean margins. Wisconsin, however, tilt. Yeah, for the first time since 1988, these states do not vote altogether. It is redder than the other two. It has an incumbent Republican senator. So does Pennsylvania, but he is retiring, and I think it's likely a Democrat will win here. And while these two states will eventually flip into the GOP column again after President Trump won them in 2016, I don't see that happening in 2024. But for EDP, it will happen in Wisconsin. Minnesota, I think, will also be lean. Maybe not safe or even likely for the Democrats, but I think it won't leave their column just because it hasn't gone red since 1972. It was the only state, in addition to Washington, D.C., that Walter Mondale won in 1984. And I don't really see that changing. Ohio is going to be likely. Perhaps not a lost cause for the Democratic Party, but it's been trending red. And I think this election will be more a battle of the running mates than the actual candidates, because the candidates are fresh faces in the political scene. I mean, of course, they're not even old enough to run in 2024, but we can abolish the first article of the U.S. Constitution by then. New Hampshire is going to be likely for the Democratic Party. because it's been trending bluer. It's gotten bluer since 2016 when Trump nearly won it. President Biden won it by about an 8-point margin, and I don't see. And if Chris Sununu were to win a Senate race here, he would not. President Trump would not be a fan of him, and he would serve as almost an anti-Trump-like figure that would cause more moderate Republicans here to come out for the Democrats. So I don't see that flipping into the GOP column anytime soon. But two states I think will flip back into the GOP column are Arizona and Georgia by a likely margin. I don't want to get too deep into Georgia's new election laws, but I think they will be favorable to the GOP, maybe a likely margin. Ron DeSantis being another Southerner governor here, not here, but in Florida. It will help him with popularity, and so I think that Georgia will flip. I think EDP and Ron DeSantis are more likely to get the blessing of the McCain family, which has still remained prominent here in Arizona. So I can see that flipping. North Carolina is going to be a lean Republican. President Biden nearly won it in 2020, but I think that had more to do with anti-Trump sentiment in the suburbs, and I can see EDP coming in and winning it by a stronger margin in 2024. Texas as well. Texas will be lean to the GOP. As it was surprisingly competitive in 2020, and I think it will go blue eventually, but not this election. Will be a few more elections down the road. The Democratic Party is growing stronger here, but I don't think that will help Riley Reid in 2024. Nevada will permanently be tilt to the Democrats. George W. Bush won it in 2004, I believe, but it's remained solid for the Democratic Party ever since. Well, I guess by solid I don't mean strong margins, but Democrats typically do win here, and that will happen again in this election. Iowa will be likely Republican. Longtime Senator Chuck Grassley is likely to retire, at least in my opinion, and there may be a prominent Democrat here by that time, but for the sake of right now, I think it will be likely about a 10-point margin for EDP. In Nebraska, I'll see. Hold up, sorry. Riley Reid winning the 2nd district, but the rest of Nebraska being safe for the EDP ticket. And oh boy, we have a mess here. This will go to the House of Representatives. And for those of you not familiar, each state only gets one vote. And I think the House will be controlled both by all of the votes. The Republicans will control the House by this time, I believe. And even if they don't, the Republicans will control most of the state's congressional delegations, and each state only gets one vote. So I'm going to give Edp445 the nod here. However, Riley Reid voters will fight back, and there will be violence. And I could see this being the precedent for a long and dark presidency. Well, maybe not particularly long, but it'll be a cloud that hangs over Edp445 and Ron DeSantis' heads. Both during EDP's presidency, both if Ron DeSantis decides to run the future, people will think this election was stolen. They'll raise questions about the results in Wisconsin, in North Carolina. If EDP loses, he'll raise questions about the results in Nevada. But I don't see any good coming from this. This is a tied election. Something we haven't seen. Not something we've really seen before. There's no precedent for this. This will start a new era. An even more cold, dark, and divided era. Just look at this map. Look at these numbers. Peace out.